What is in a name? What's in a name? I don't know what the experience is for other people when they start writing, but once you start creating fictional stories, you can never really turn that writer's brain off. And every new story that you create, when you watch any movies or novels that you read afterwards, it gives you a different appreciation for the different things that are going on in the story and in terms of the characters. And when watching the series Ironheart, and I finished it and I pondered on it, it made me think of the question, what's in a name? And I got this idea, which I haven't really seen in the discussion of the show. There's a lot of discussion of the show online, but the question of the name itself, I haven't really seen that discussed. And I reflected on it and I said, the name Ironheart itself is like a double entendre. And if you think of the character's name and you think of what it means to have an iron heart, figuratively speaking, and you go back and watch the show, everything makes more sense and it gives you a new appreciation of the show, and it even makes you wonder if when they originally conceived of that character and how complex the character would behave, if the original writers thought of all of this when they were naming the character Ironheart, or if that is just a happy coincidence. And it made me think of, in my own writing and my own books, of how the titles of my books actually relates to the story. And sometimes you don't realize these things until after you write it. So for example, when I wrote a book called Prodigal of Dominica, it's not a religious book per se, it's not a biblical book, it's a science fiction book. But the motive of leaving your home, going to explore the unknown and discovering yourself and discovering your true nature and being the prodigal son, it's actually part of the story. And as the story progresses, and I'm making another book in that same series now, it's going to continue with that same motive. I wrote another book called Mr. Earl, and when I was writing the book, I knew that I had this concept of counts and greed and money and temptation and earls, and I decided that I would name the character Mr. Earl, and that actually plays a huge role in the story, that name itself. And I was thinking in terms of superheroes, and when I finished watching the Ironheart series, I thought to myself, the only other superhero I can think of where the superhero's name describes the character so completely is Superman. Because when you think of the character of Superman, the name Superman is so simple, but it completely describes the whole character, both in and outside of the suit. I mean, Superman is super in his physical characteristics of his power sets. He has all the powers that you would hope to have, physically perfect. But the character is also super in terms of his personality, because he is perfectly moral and always makes the perfect decision, and is just this perfectly moral good person. So when you say the character is Superman, the name alone tells you everything about the character and how he behaves. So now when you watch the character of Ironheart and you watch the series and you think of all the things that people complain about and they say, why did the character do this? Why did the character do this? Why is the character so stubborn? Why doesn't the character listen to people? Why is she so guarded? And you think of the name of the character, it doesn't just tell you about the fact that it's a tech-based character, but it also describes the character's personality. The character is called Ironheart. Now we know that there was a previous character called Iron Man. So knowing that there was a character called Iron Man, and we now have a character called Ironheart, you can already see that, well, okay, this is a younger character that is also a tech-based character. But the character isn't called Iron Man, the character isn't called Iron Woman, the character is called Ironheart. So, because the name is different from the predecessor, you already know that yes, it's similar, but it's not the same. It's not like how there's more than one Captain America and the other characters simply take up the mantle and continue. And it's not simply moving from Iron Man to Iron Woman, so it's just a woman taking up the mantle of Iron Man, but it's essentially the same thing. No, the name is slightly different. It's Ironheart. So that already tells you that it's a different character. Now, the word heart can sometimes refer to vulnerabilities. So you think, boy, there's some vulnerabilities in this character. And the heart motive lets you know that, well, this probably relates to a female character. But then you only put it together and you get Ironheart. Now that tells you about the character's personality. For example, when someone is described as having a heart of gold, what does that tell you about the person? That usually means a person that is kind, a person that is giving, a person that is caring a lot for people. It's generally a compliment. But when you tell someone that they have an iron heart, a heart of iron, what does that denote to you? It's not usually a compliment per se. It tells you that the person is guarding, they have their heart in a cage, maybe they're afraid of having relationships, maybe they've been hurt in the past, maybe they have some sort of trauma that they are dealing with. In some cases, it might even be described as a person that is cold or callous, a person that could be very stubborn. All these are the kinds of characteristics that would describe someone if you say the person has an iron heart. So now that we are watching a show with a superhero called Ironheart, the name itself tells you everything you need to know about the character. So now if you reflect upon this name and you go back and you read all the comics and you watch the show again, you realize that the name tells you everything you need to know about the character. And I just found that very interesting. I don't know if the writers intended that intentionally when the character was created all the way back when they started the comics, but it's kind of interesting and cool when you think about it. The name describes everything about the character itself.